A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got 'em!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Hump Day Wednesday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Game Night's back in your life after a week off. We are back, and we got a lot to get to in just an hour to get to it all. Weinberg Wednesday is back. Dave Weinberg joins us coming up in about 20 minutes from now. Eagles day one of training camp. And Dave Weinberg has a very strong position on Zach Ertz's future. So we'll hear from Dave coming up as well. And we will get into all of the stuff when it comes to the Eagles. But before we get to the Eagles stuff, we got Philly stuff to get to. We also got Sixers stuff to discuss. And as always, you can join the conversation as well. Text board is open at 609-403-0973. We're also, you can join us through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. You can message the show right through the app to join the conversation as well. And of course, all of you wonderful people watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can join the conversation there as well. Just follow 97.3 ESPN on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Watch the show. Jump in the comment section as well. So a plethora of ways for you to get in touch with the show. So here's the lowdown. The Phillies and Nationals game has been postponed tonight. They are going to have a doubleheader tomorrow. It will be a single admission doubleheader at 12:05 p.m. Gates open at 11:05. So you have a chance in the middle of the summer to go watch 14 innings of baseball tomorrow if you have the time. So maybe someone like Mike Gill, that's not exciting because, he just had to suffer through baseball for about 2 weeks. But for the rest of you out there, maybe it's a good idea if you do something in the middle of the summer. But the whole reason why this game is postponed is bizarre, to say the least. All right. So last night, in the middle of the game, Trey Turner leaves the game. And half the Twitter is projecting that, well, this means Trey Turner's getting traded. Come to find out, it wasn't a trade. It wasn't an injury. It was a COVID test that came back after the game had started. And I'm starting to have flashbacks. Remember the World Series? Turner? Anybody? Mr. Turner? The third baseman for the Dodgers, their power slugger, had to leave the game. They came back on the field to celebrate with his team after he had a positive COVID test. Anybody remember that scenario several months ago? Well, deja vu going on here. And I'm thinking about this today. Let me get this straight. So Trey Turner test positive, a test that they didn't have before the game started result. Now today, there's multiple players and coaches, according to Dave Martinez, I'm reading right now, thanks to Jesse Doherty of the Washington Post. Dave Martinez says the Nationals have 12 positive cases on top of Trey Turner. So there's 12 altogether, 11 since Trey Turner yesterday. So now, I don't know if that 100% is players. I'm not saying in the statement, but the way it works is it has to be what's known as Tier 1 personnel. And the reason why this is interesting is because the Nationals, as we mentioned on the Sports Bash, are above the 85 minimum threshold for positive, COVID coverage. They vaccinated 100%, got all the shots, blah, blah, blah. All right. But now we're finding out more and more instances in the sports world of people who have been vaccinated who are testing positive. And to be honest with you, I think that this only proves that we don't really know as much as we're being told that we know about what's going on. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm not assuming anything. But considering the timing of Trey Turner and the other 11 people testing positive, it seems like they all got COVID around the same point in time. Because one thing we do know, it takes 5 to 7 days for COVID to manifest in your system. And while we hope for the best for the Nationals, obviously, we don't know all the details of why these people tested positive. We don't know all the details of who did or didn't, so we don't need to, speculate too much. But what we do know is it's still a thing we're dealing with. So I guess the one good news is that at least it's only 2 7-inning games tomorrow, and you lose 2 innings of games next 2 days, which means you have to worry as much about the pitching staff because, let's be realistic, anytime I see Vince Velasquez's name as a starting pitcher at this point in time, I'm scared. Just straight up don't know what's going to happen. No idea. So, but anyway, Phillies. So they lose the game last night. They lose out on Tyler Anderson, and then insult to injury. They can't even play a game tonight. Welcome to 2021. What a beautiful thing. And I've been saying this for days. I've been wanting the Phillies to make a trade. I got excited yesterday. I'm like, finally a trade. They saw Tyler Anderson, and I'm like, I got people talking me into it. I'm reading more information about it. I'm like, all right, he's an innings eater. And then it finds out Pirates don't like the medicals of one of the prospects. Now he's a Mariner. He's not even a Philly. And the Phillies left out in the cold, potentially getting John Gray from the Rockies. Like, is that where we're at right now? Tyler Anderson, John Gray. Is that who the Phillies are at this point? We're just going out and getting mediocre people to make this team better because that's how miserable we are. You could argue the Phillies are the most average, mediocre team in all of baseball. They're a 500 ball club. They barely have enough pitching to survive. And meanwhile, in a city where Eagles report the training camp, we're excited about that. Ben Simmons might get traded. People are losing their minds about that. Chuck Fletcher is signing dudes, training dudes, reformatting the roster, and Dave Dombrowski is still sitting on his hands. Great. Thanks. Just what I wanted. Definitely not feeling any good vibes about anything. By the way, the other thing is Major League Baseball, according to the Washington Post, still has not explained how tonight's game will be made up outside of the doubleheader tomorrow. And the reason why I say how is because where are these players coming from who are playing tomorrow? Let's just use the theory that the 12 people who tested positive, half of them are players. So are you just calling up 6 new guys tomorrow? Are you just going to call half the minor leagues up because you had a bunch of COVIDs here? You don't have a taxi squad anymore. Remember last year during COVID, it was a taxi squad, and you had a group of guys who were just sitting around waiting to be called up. You don't have that now. So the Nationals just going to throw a bunch of guys on a plane or on a bus or a train overnight and say, all right, well, you all are available. Let's go. Let's have enough bodies to run out there. I mean, if that's the case, you might as well just call anybody at that point, right? Like some random dude from the minor leagues that will be playing tomorrow because you're without players. What a mess. What's that old saying? When you don't plan ahead, if you don't plan ahead well, you get caught. Now, before we get to the Eagle stuff, as promised, of course, the tech report is open as always, 609-403-0973. We're also live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can join the show. Also, message the show on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, which is free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. So, Ben Simmons has not been traded. Okay? As of right now, no, he has not been traded. But what we do know is there's more and more smoke about his situation. And I've been telling you guys for a while now, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I tend to believe that Ben Simmons will be traded this offseason. I've been saying that consistently. But I find the teams that are calling about him more and more interesting. So the first batch of teams we heard was the Warriors, the Timberwolves, the Pacers, the Cavs, the Pelicans. Now we're hearing the Raptors, the Heat, and the Wizards. There's been speculation about a trade with Portland. There's speculation about a trade with, for goodness sake, with the Kings, right? And that means there's 10 teams that are in the sphere of rumors when it comes to Ben Simmons' future. Which brings us to the question that Mike Gill asked today with Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report that I think is a huge question to ask. So, if all of these people are potentially interested in Ben Simmons, how long do you wait to make a deal? How long do you hit the pause button until you are ready to trade him? Do you wait out until Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard are actually available, or do you assume they might not be available? This is the problem with the Ben Simmons situation. There's no certainty about exactly who may or may not be available. And if there's no certainty about who may or may not be available, guess what? What are you waiting for then? What happens if this team waits so long for the best trade offer that they miss out on the other offers? What if you wait for Lillard and Beal and neither one of them get moved, and then Kyle Lowry signs somewhere else? All the guys you could have had get moved or sent somewhere else. Then what happens? Seriously, what happens if you wait too long? And this is going to be the conundrum of this offseason. There's no certainty that Lillard or Beal are going to force their way out of their teams. It's just super speculation. Lillard says he wants to continue playing in Portland. Beal has not asked for a trade. But yet we're waiting on two guys who may or may not be available. Because, supposedly you're not getting the return that you want? Supposedly? I'm telling you guys, this whole Ben Simmons situation could be something to keep an eye on as we get closer and closer to 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Because if Ben Simmons is not traded before the end of tomorrow night's NBA draft, then you remove a whole set of assets that could be moved as part of any Ben Simmons deal. And Paul Hudrick mentioned it earlier. This is not a one-on-one situation. Daryl Morey could rope in 3, 4, 5 teams to make this deal happen for all parties involved. What if you do include Washington? But it's Westbrook ending up with the Lakers and Lowry ending up with the Sixers. And a bunch of other guys going a bunch of different other places like Cleveland and Minnesota or Indiana. The easiest way to do all that is with draft picks. So if you get past the NBA draft, then your options and flexibility when it comes to trading Ben Simmons change. So you guys tell me what you think at 609-403-0973. Also, you can message through the 973 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks Spurs Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. How long do you wait to trade Ben Simmons? Do you wait for the perfect deal, or do you just put your foot down and say, we'll take the best deal we can right now and make it work? I don't think there's a right answer to that question, but I think it's a question that has to be asked. How long do you wait? By the way, shout out to the text board. The saying goes, failing to plan is planning to fail. That's the saying I was looking for. Thank you. been a long week. Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. We got more text to get to on the other side of messages as well. But coming up, Dave Weinberg will join us coming up. Weinberg Wednesday, each and every Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Day one of Eagles training camp. We will find out from Dave his thoughts on the Eagles' first day, as well as he has a very strong position on Zach Ertz. He will verbalize it for you next, right here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just follow 97.3 ESPN live in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios.
This is Billy Schwein. Join me this Friday night for 97.3 ESPN's live coverage of the Dutch Hoffman Memorial Lifeguard Races from the beach in Wildwood. Coverage starts from 6 to 8 p.m.
The Dutch Hoffman Memorial Lifeguard Races is being brought to you by McCann Realtor, serving Seattle City since 1939. Dino's Subs and Pizza, located on Ventnor Ave in Margate. Blitz's Market with 2 locations in Ocean City at 21st and 34th Streets. Lee's Builders of Margate with over 30 years of experience. Coastline Insurance Company, serving South Jersey beach communities since 1998.
New Jersey, this is not a test. If you're looking for a deal on a new vehicle, get to Matt Blatt Nissan and get $2,500 off on every new 2021 Nissan Murano SUV in stock.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Yes, get $2,500 off every new 2021 Nissan Murano in stock. Drive it today with 0 down and pay 0 interest for 60 months. Plus, Matt Blatt Nissan will buy your current vehicle for cash or trade it for top dollar. What do you get? $2,500 off. 0 money down, 0% interest on every 2021 Nissan Murano in stock. And don't forget our fast track checkout. So bring any vehicle and Matt Blatt Nissan will buy it for cash or pay top dollar for any trade in Egg Harbor Township next to Home Depot or online at mattblattnissan.com. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Rate qualifications exist. Not all will qualify. 0% APR financing based on 1667 per thousand borrowed. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattnissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 8/6/21. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
you a Philly sports fanatic? You love to travel and cheer on our hometown squad across the country? You need to check out Philly Sports Trips. Join your fellow Philly sports fans and book your trip with Philly Sports Trips to cheer on the Birds this fall as they travel to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Travel packages can include chartered airfare, hotel, rides to and from the airport and stadium, game tickets, tailgate parties, entertainment, and more. Check out all the great Vegas travel packages Philly Sports Trips offers. Visit phillysportstrips.com.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Sea City. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where you can watch the show. You join the conversation on all three levels. The text board is open at 609-403-0973. You can send a message to the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and you can catch the show live if you follow 97.3 ESPN on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We'll get into more Eagles as well right now here with Dave Weinberg. Joins us each and every Wednesday for a Weinberg Wednesday. Check out his extra point columns over at 973ESPN.com. Dave, how you doing on this Wednesday?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And, it's a good day when football is officially back. I know they're all only running around in, shorts and T-shirts at this point, but it's better than not having anything. And Dave, you wrote an extra point column over at 973ESPN.com, and you have been very, very specific and consistent in what you believe should happen to Zach Ertz. So I will let you – I don't want to characterize any of your positions, so I will let you go ahead and give it.
Well, I was, like you said, I've been pretty adamant about all along the fact that I think Zach Ertz should stay with the Eagles, and it sounds like Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni are kind of leaning towards that direction now. And from their comments today, they're indicating that he's going to be here at the start of the year, which as I wrote, I thought that should happen. He's been a exemplary teammate, leader, community leader off the field, both him and his wife, Julie. I really wasn't sure why they were getting rid of him in the first place. I know it was contract related, but I was always of the opinion that if there was any way that the two sides could come to some sort of agreement, that they should do so. And it looks like I guess they have. Maybe they just didn't get any takers, but for whatever the case, I'm glad that Zach is still an Eagle.
And it seems like, what people overlook in all this, Dave, and I mentioned this multiple times the last few days, is the reason why Zach is still here, in part, is because who he is, who as a person. He's not a diva. He's not a me-first guy. He's not a jerk. He's just a good human being who's the ultimate professional. And I think if he was anything else, the situation would be very different. People forget that, listen, if you have a good reputation and you're a good person and you happen to be a good player, that's a pretty nice combination to keep on your team.
Yeah, especially with the Eagles now with a new coach, a new coaching staff. The more veteran leaders you have on your team, the better off you're going to be. And Zach is one of those guys like Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, what have you. There's a couple other guys too, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey. Those guys are character guys for the most part. They can and they'll have an influence on the younger players that they're bringing in. They'll follow their lead. They'll lead and learn from them. And those are guys who can offer advice, encouragement, what have you. And Zach is certainly one of those guys. And like I said, I'm glad that he's here because I think they need him.
Yeah, the only problem for Zach is I think the blonde hair was a bad choice.
Yeah, that was, I guess, what happens when your wife's over in Tokyo. And, you make strange decisions.
Is that what it is? You have too much time on your hands. You're sitting around the house, no one to ask if this is a good idea or not.
You can ask my wife; she'll tell you.
Okay, gotcha. Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Now, Dave, obviously everyone is on the field today, so that's a good sign overall. And one of the things about them being back on the field is the fact that Jalen Hurts made the comment today. To me, this is one of the biggest stories of the day, even though it's not really a football thing. It's an environment thing.
Okay.
There's a media at the building. There was no media in the building last year. There was nobody talking. Everything was Zoom meetings. And even Jalen Hurts joked when the reporters were talking over each other. He was like, "This is how you guys do it. You just throw out questions randomly over each other." Like, Like even he was joking about it, but you could tell that everybody was happy to see other human beings asking them questions again, to the point where the players are coming into the meetings, the pressers, and saying, "Hey, it's nice to actually see you people."
Yeah, I mean, there are guys on the team that never met us, never met the media.
Right.
Guys who were rookies last year or newcomers, they just don't. They have no idea who anybody is. I mean, they saw them on Zoom meetings, of course, but they've never got a chance to actually meet them, and that's a big advantage for a media person. If you can meet a guy face to face, you get a sense of his personality, his sense of humor. If you can form some sort of, I don't want to say friendship, but if you can form some sort of professional relationship with the guy, get to know him a little bit, that really helps you down the line during the course of a season, where there might be instances where the guy will come to you to talk rather than just a group meetings setting. So yeah, it's a great thing to say that they're finally interacting with one another as opposed to staring at a computer screen.
Absolutely. The other thing that came out today was, I don't know if you saw Tim McManus's article about Lane Johnson and Jalen Hurts, but this is one of my favorite stories of the day. So Jalen Hurts has been working out with offensive linemen this offseason to the point where they literally have a mural on the wall of the players with him saying, "We got your back." Like, I don't know about anybody else, but you know how rare it is for players who are not quarterbacks to embrace a quarterback like that, say, "Yeah, man, come lift with us. Oh, yeah, by the way, you deadlift over 500 pounds and you squat over 500. You could hang with us offensive linemen." Like, to me, that's a huge sign of the kind of person Jalen Hurts was. Because you know who wasn't working out the offensive linemen? It was Carson Wentz, right? You know who wasn't hanging out the offensive linemen? It was Wentz. And you know what? Hurts, I think, is just a breath of fresh air to me, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I've made this comment before to people that Carson might have a better arm, but when you talk about leadership, he doesn't hold a candle to Jalen Hurts. Jalen's shown that his entire football career almost, with Alabama, with Oklahoma, and even with the Eagles last year. I mean, he was albeit a backup for most of the year, but those kind of players, they shine through and they resonate with people, and the offensive linemen embraced him, like you said. Nothing against Carson. Best of luck to him in Indianapolis, but I think this Jalen experiment is going to turn out to be very good for the Eagles. I think he's going to be the player that people expected. Maybe they had some questions last year, and rightfully so. But again, as we've often discussed, there was no training camp, there was no preseason. He really didn't have a regular season until the final month or so. So now he's got a full offseason to learn a new system, to bond with the players like he's been doing with Lane and the other offensive linemen at Lane's barn in Moorestown. So it's a real positive. And now that they respect Jalen, although I'm sure they always respected him, but now they appreciate him, they support him, and they're ready to have him lead them.
Dave Weinberg joining us, Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll be talking Eagles throughout the entire process, because not just because Dave covered the Eagles for over 25 years, but because it's football season, Dave, and I'm so happy it's back. On the flip side, though, it's a bad last 36 hours for the Phillies. Horrible last 36 hours. You thought you had a pitcher, Tyler Anderson. Now he's with the Mariners because apparently there's some medical mishap that held that up. Starling Marte got traded to the A's for literally one player, for goodness sake. You don't have no game tonight because the Nationals apparently have a COVID outbreak and the game's being rescheduled for tomorrow with I don't know what players, because you basically have to ship up like 8-10 guys from the minor leagues to play tomorrow for the Nationals. So the Phillies better win the 2 games tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, you still have traded for 0 pitching. Dave, how do you not make any trades at all? Chuck Fletcher's losing his mind, making $2 million trades with the Flyers, and Dave Dombrowski's sitting on his hands looking at himself in the mirror.
Yeah, I don't get it. I thought they were pretty clear that they were going to be buyers at the trade deadline, but they haven't bought anything except some frustration for themselves. It's really puzzling to me. I don't know if they're trying to steal guys from other teams, or they just don't have the cachet in terms of minor league prospects to give up. But if you're really serious about making a run this year, and the division is right there for you, I mean, it's going to take some doing, but you still have a chance to make the playoffs here. I don't understand why they're dragging their feet.
Yeah, I have no idea why they're dragging their feet. I don't understand how on earth they think that the world can just pass them by, and their excuse is, well, we could outscore these problems. Like, I'm sorry, that's not baseball. Baseball is pitching, fielding, and hitting. It's not just hitting, Dave.
Yeah, and the Phillies are horrible at pitching and fielding especially. They're a terrible defensive team, and yeah, I mean, they can, if you can continue to average 6 runs a game like you did in June, then okay, you're going to be in it at the end. But if your bullpen is going to implode, or your starting pitching can't get past the 6th inning, or what have you, they're going to be in trouble. And as I said, this division is so mediocre that they have the capability of winning it. All they have to do is be like a little bit above average, and they're going to be right there. But they just don't seem willing to make the moves necessary to get a center fielder, to get a pitcher, bolster that bullpen to make a serious run at it.
Dave, I know you, switching from baseball, I know you are among the people who are actually consuming the Olympics, even though the Olympics are down with their worst viewership since the 1988 Olympics. Why do you think that is, though? Why do you think
we're pretty good with Carl Lewis and Ben Johnson, but go ahead.
Right, exactly.
Go ahead,
it's not like that was a bad Olympic year. But so why do you think I mean that was also in South Korea. So is it because it's a certain time zone? Is it because people are just outside having a good summertime? Like, why do you think so many people are not consuming the Olympics?
I think the year's delay certainly didn't help. I mean, when it's an Olympic year, everybody gets kind of get revved up behind the personal stories, the backstories of everybody. And I guess because they didn't have it last year, people kind of forgot about it. And as I'm sure you know, there aren't really any I think there are, but there aren't a lot of like so-called household names like the Michael Phelps of the world who people know. I mean, Simone Biles was, I guess, until she decided to pull out for whatever reason yesterday. And but Katie Ledecky, those kind of, they can't. I don't know if they can carry the whole thing by themselves. There's no there's no Usain Bolt for everybody to latch on to, and when the track and field portion comes around. So I guess maybe people just aren't familiar with the names enough to really follow it. I mean, I am, because I'm a fan of those sports. I really enjoy watching swimming. I enjoy the gymnastics. I enjoy track and field. I wish I'd been able to watch more of the surfing, because I think that's really cool that it's in the Olympics for the first time. But yeah, I don't know if people are just like, I think too much. I don't know if too much time went by, but it just seemed like people were used to not seeing it, so they really didn't get invested in it.
See, my biggest problem, Dave, is this. On Sunday morning, when Team USA was losing to France, I couldn't find it on NBC. I couldn't find it on MSNBC. I couldn't find it on USA. I couldn't find it on NBC Sports Network.
Yeah,
they got water polo. They got doubles tennis. They had equestrian, and they had men's beach volleyball on at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, I'm sorry, shouldn't the men's basketball be on ahead of at least one of those sports? That's my problem with the Olympics. I feel like NBC has completely mismanaged this thing.
So you're saying you would have watched women's beach volleyball, though, right?
No, I wanted to see the men losing to France. Why should any of those sports be on instead of that?
Yeah, I'm absolutely in agreement with you. I don't know what their decision making is. Yeah, NBC has not done the best job. I mean, you can find the Olympics all over the dial. I mean, up and down. Virtually every NBC affiliated station has something. There was judo on today. There was tennis. There was cycling. There was swimming. Yeah, basketball. I mean, that's kind of like the mainstay sport of America here. And, everybody remembers from the Dream Team and so forth. And the fact that they lost, that would have been major news. And the fact that you had to go to a streaming service to find that was unforgivable. Although they did beat Iran today, right? Or yesterday?
Yeah, they beat Iran by like 60. So, but I can't even name I can't name a player on the Iran national team. So does that really count? Like, I can name half of France's team, Dave.
Oh, okay. Well, that's more than I can. So that's good.
Well, I mean, France at least has NBA players on the team, like Rudy Gobert and Evan Fournier. I don't even know if Iran has professional players on their team, honestly. Maybe they do.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Probably not. Yeah, I would doubt it.
So, Dave, moving forward this summer, okay, so obviously we're getting in the football season. The Olympics are only a couple more weeks left. What is the Dave Weinberg sports consumption going to be like? Because we're kind of in that weird period in the middle of things right now.
This summer, well, I'm a big baseball guy, so I'll continue to follow that for, through the rest of the regular season, playoffs, World Series. And NFL is really cranking up now. I mean, it's going to be just a couple of weeks before preseason starts, so hoping to, I'm really heavily invested in that. So, but as far as live sports, besides the Eagles, boxing's returning to Atlantic City this Saturday night. So I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, it's been 15 months since there's been a boxing event in Atlantic City. So the fact that that's going back to Showboat is a big deal, I think. And I enjoyed lifeguard races too. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to. That's why I have the sunglasses on. I'm getting ready to go over to the KMA Point Women's Lifeguard Challenge right down the street here. So, that's a unique sport to South Jersey. Not many people know about it, I guess, but that's one of the bigger sports in the area, lifeguard racing, and it culminates with the South Jersey Championships in a couple weeks at Longport. So I'll try to take in as many of those as I can too.
There you go. Dave Weinberg giving you the full gambit of what he's keeping an eye on. Weinberg Wednesday, each and every Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Check out his extra point columns over at 97.3ESPN.com. And don't forget about his podcast, Tequila and Touchdowns with Dave Weinberg. And he joins us each and every Wednesday on the video stream. Dave, enjoy the races today, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it as always. Talk to you next week.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. Always good to talk with Dave Weinberg on the show. Coming up next, we'll get back to your guys' thoughts and comments. 609-403-0973. More clarity on what is going on with the Nationals. Jeff Passan has a update on the situation. Plus, the Big 12 is trying to make ESPN stop reporting on them. That sounds ridiculous. I'll explain it next here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Tomorrow, the future of your NBA team is now.
With the first pick. Back outside, Cunningham.
Aaron Green is the #1 basketball prospect in the 2020 class.
Suggs for three again. Yes.
Evan Mobley. He's exactly what every NBA team is looking for in a modern big man.
The NBA Draft. Coverage begins tomorrow at 7 Eastern. Listen to the NBA Draft exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM, South Jersey's home for Sixers basketball.
On some models excludes Corvette with GM financing, excludes prior sales. See dealer for details.
By now, most people know that nobody beats a Bennett Chevrolet deal. Because when you buy a new Chevy from Bennett, you pay the same as any GM supplier employee pays. That's right, not 1 cent more. Plus, Bennett gives you all the rebates that can add up to 25% off MSRP. That's up to 25% off. And of course, Bennett Chevy has 0% financing available. Think about all the ways you save at Bennett Chevrolet. Plus, right now, we want your trade. So we're paying a minimum $7,000 for any clunker. You heard right, a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned in stock. Nobody pays more than Bennett. You can imagine how much more we'll pay for a good trade. And there's more. You'll never feel any sales pressure and never waste time with stressful negotiating because our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Nobody beats Bennett Chevrolet, and we mean nobody. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent
clients love our work. I just wish we could figure out how to grow faster.
I hear you. Is it slow for everyone in your industry right now?
Actually, no. I see competitors all over South Jersey who seem to be very busy, even though I know my work is better than theirs. I just wish I knew how they were finding new customers, because if I could do it too, I know I could beat them.
Growing a business in South Jersey is challenging, and figuring out where to start is the hardest part. If your business does great work but just needs help finding more customers, then Town Square can help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you how the most successful businesses in South Jersey grow and how you can do it too. These strategies are simple, and we can show you how to apply them to your business. Be one of the first businesses to sign up, and you'll receive $500 in free advertising on this radio station. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Get to watch the show, join the conversation. With you, all your guys' thoughts and comments in just a moment at 609-403-0973 is text board. Also, you can shoot us a message on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live also on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Shout out to Jeff Boone and Pookie. What is up, Jeff? Hope you're having a good day out there. I promised to give you a little update on the Phillies national situation. According to Jeff Passan, of the dozen national players and staff who have tested positive for COVID-19, the vast majority were vaccinated, sources tell ESPN. A number of the people who were vaccinated were given the single-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So factor that in however you want. Maybe that's even too much information from Jeff Passan in the situation. But there you go. The majority of the people who are testing positive were vaccinated, and they had the Johnson & Johnson. All right. There you go. So at least we know that. Which follows up on a text we got a little bit earlier in the show, which says, hey, Josh, the vaccine is not able to stop someone from getting COVID, but hopefully it stops working. Hopefully stops someone from dying of it. You can still get COVID after being vaccinated. FYI. Yes, I know that. But the point is that you have put out these intense protocols in these leagues. Whereas, like Ryan Tannehill was saying earlier to the media, he got the vaccine because the league told him he had to. And now he's seeing people who got the vaccine who are still getting COVID. And it makes him uncomfortable about the situation, because the whole point of them getting the vaccine was to protect them from COVID. But if guys are still getting these positive tests, it makes these guys uncomfortable because they feel like they were supposed to be doing everything possible to put them in a situation to be safe. And then this situation is still happening. And if you're somebody who, okay, you're protected, and like you saw these guys, well, if one guy has Johnson & Johnson and someone else has Pfizer and another person has Moderna, what does that even mean? There's so much inconclusive evidence with this stuff. So what? The person who had the Moderna vaccine didn't get COVID positive, but the person with the Johnson & Johnson did? What does that mean? Should we just not have the Johnson & Johnson vaccine out there anymore? And that's what I'm talking about. It's like what Tannehill was saying yesterday. There is, and I'm not saying 100% like he said it, but I'm conveying the message of, for the players, these guys feel like some of these restrictions and some of these protocols are out there less than about protecting them than it is about getting the vaccine. And that's really what the problem is for some of these players, and for myself as well. There's one thing about protecting the players and protecting people's health. It's another thing forcing people to do something without further protections beyond that. All right? Because if you can still catch COVID and you get the vaccine, and let's say your protocols do not have you being tested as frequently as somebody else, that's a concern. Lamar Jackson tested positive for the second time in the last 8 months. Now, he doesn't have any serious symptoms. He's okay. But the protocols in the NFL say that if you are vaccinated, you don't have to be tested every day. If you are unvaccinated, you do. So what if in that period of time between your tests, you caught COVID and you might have been a carrier of it and you gave it to somebody else? And that's really what the issue is. We should just be testing everybody no matter what. If you can't have one set of rules for one group of people and another for another group of people. It's not fair, it's sketchy, and it leads to situations like this. A couple more messages to get to. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. Also, you can shoot us a message through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Again, the Phillies game postponed tonight due to the Nationals having what is some people are calling a COVID outbreak, which, as I said earlier, I think that's a bad word to use because an outbreak basically says that there's a huge problem and that something has to be contained. And in this situation, it seems like it's just people testing positive, and baseball, basically, they're going to find a way to be able to play the game tomorrow. So is it really an outbreak, or is it just they had to postpone a game? More like the latter. Nick from Brigantine chimes in at 609-403-0973, says, Josh, I like the Winter Olympics way better than the summer. How about you? That's Nick from Brigantine. You know, Nick, I tend to look at the Olympics. They're kind of the same for me for both. I would say that it's an even for me because I'm not a diehard Olympics person. I enjoy certain events. I enjoy covering and watching and consuming certain sports because I find that the talent and the skill level of those athletes tends to appeal to me. You know, I watch sports that I have a familiar understanding of. Okay, I trained in martial arts for years, so I watch judo. I've enjoyed watching the taekwondo in the Olympics. I've watched gymnastics for pretty much most of my life, so I watch the gymnastics in the Olympics. I watch the basketball. In the Winter Olympics, I watch a lot of the X Game related events. You know, the snowboarding, the figure skating. I watched that for years. So to me, it's more so I'm familiar with certain events, certain sports, and that's what I'm drawn to. So, sorry, Nick from Brigantine, but Jeff from Summers Point completely interrupted my train of thought. Jeff from Summers Point just messaged the show and said, Josh, I had the Johnson & Johnson shot, but I've been sticking to my Fireball and Bud Light treatment, and I'm starting to think the Fireball actually prevents COVID. It's almost a proven fact. That's Jeff from Summers Point. Jeff, I appreciate you, Jeff in Summers Point. That was great. Keep them coming, folks. 609-403-0973 is the text word. Also, you can shoot us a message through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And, of course, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Don't forget about my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. With the summer games here, we've been talking about them here as well. You can celebrate with FanDuel Sportsbook, hooking new users up with an epic summer games bonus. New users get up to $1,000 back in site credit if your first bet doesn't win. That's right. Just place your first bet on any summer games sport risk-free. Promotions like this are just one of the reasons why I love betting with FanDuel Sportsbook. Their app is simple to use with unique fun bet types such as same-game parlays and exclusive always-on promotions so you get more action out of every game day. So new users, download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and sign up with my promo code Hennig to get the $1,000 back in site credit if your first bet doesn't win. That's promo code Hennig to go for the gold today with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or to play and present in NJRPA. First online real money wager only for risk-free bet. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, I promise I get to this story before we get out of here. So the Big 12 has sent a cease and desist order to ESPN. So the Big 12 and their commissioner, Bob Bowlesby, is claiming that ESPN has been interacting with members of the Big 12, trying to get them to leave the Big 12, go to other conferences, because the Big 12 claims that ESPN is trying to create a more financial benefit for them and the schools they are trying to entice to leave the Big 12. First of all, to claim this is going on in and of itself is ridiculous. But furthermore, what they're basically saying is they don't want ESPN reporting on the story. Because part of what they're accusing ESPN of, they're doing on television. They're doing on the radio. Almost every ESPN platform show at some point in their broadcast is talking about this Oklahoma, Texas leaving the Big 12. They're claiming that ESPN is engaging with their member institutions to get them to leave too. First of all, if you don't have proof of this, this is slander at the highest level they're accusing them of. Secondly, ESPN apparently is not allowed to go on the air and talk about the financial ramifications of all of this for everyone involved. I mean, you talk about a super sensitive. The Big 12 is like Kevin Durant level hypersensitive. What on earth? I mean, I read that thing twice. I couldn't believe what I read. All right, Josh Hennig, this is Game Night. Have a great night. I'll catch you tomorrow.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
Oh, we love the summer weather, but July is UV Awareness Month. A good reminder for us to protect ourselves from the harsh rays of the summer sun. Ultraviolet rays from the sun can damage our vision and our skin, leading to premature aging, wrinkling, sagging skin, and, of course, skin cancer.